going, recording. So I think you guys, do you guys want to start just by introducing yourselves? Like we'll just kind of keep it open. This is just the 5 of us, 6 of us. So Lori, why don't you start? Introduce yourself.
I'm Lori. I live in Vancouver, and I have cerebral palsy, ataxia, and a tracheostomy.
Awesome, thanks, Lori. George, you want to go next?
I'm George Woodworth. I live in New Brunswick. 12 years post spinal cord injury, a C5, but now I've lost the function in my left arm, so I'm a one-armed quad. No, I'm not sure what you call that. I'm right now, what's going on in my life, I guess, is I've just been designated homeless. So just to force the system a little bit, or put my name up the list on the accessible housing list.
Thanks, George. Jeff?
I'm Jeff Gartrell. I live in Kelowna. I had a spinal cord cyst on T2, and I'm in a chair, and I live in a care home in Kelowna.
There you go. Leslie and Rachel, do you guys want to just introduce yourselves as well?
Sure. So I'm Leslie. I'm one of the sexual health clinicians here at GF Strong. I've worked here at GF Strong for about 25 years. Started off working on the ABI program, moved down to the spinal cord injury rehab program, worked there for 15 years, and the last 10 years I've spent working in sexual health.
My name is Rachel. I'm a registered nurse, and compared to Leslie, I'm a newbie, but I've worked with the sexual health rehab program for going on 3 years soon, I guess. Worked in sexual health in the community before that with women and youth, doing, sexually transmitted infection testing and treatment and PAP tests and birth control and all that. So I've really enjoyed working with individuals with chronic illness and disability around this area, because I think I'm a strong believer that it's a really important part of a full life for many people that, is often not addressed. So I'm happy to be working with our team, and unfortunately there's not a lot of us out there. We're situated here in Vancouver, so it's nice to be able to connect with everyone with this Zoom meeting.
And I'm Terry, working for Spinal Cord Injury BC, and we, what can I tell you about me? So C6 complete, that was from 23 years ago tomorrow, actually. So yeah, big, next year's my big half-life party, I guess. So and our today's topic is going to be about dating and relationships, and then also I'll be asking a series of questions to you guys after. And just like I've been through, I was with a partner before my injury, and then he left. I definitely struggled with like image and sexuality. I was so not comfortable with it, especially just my biggest example I always share is I didn't even have mirrors in my home when I left the rehab, because I didn't want to even see myself as a person with a disability. I just sort of wanted to ignore it, if you can do that. I don't know. I had a background in, I was a fashion model for a number of years and a dancer. So image was like really important to me at that time. And so I just thought that I would never be like dating or meet anybody, or eventually, obviously I did, when I started feeling more comfortable with myself, go out and date, and tried many different things, online dating, meeting people, whatever. I have been engaged and then broke that off, and then finally got married, had a baby, and now, I'm divorced, and now, in a relationship also with some. So definitely been through a lot of different experiences, but does anyone like have any specific like questions or topics that they want to talk about today? Or
We've had, oh, sorry.
go ahead, Lori.
Go ahead.
Oh, Jeff, you go ahead.
There's just nothing in Kelowna. I was in a relationship, married 5 years, and I'm still struggling with image. I don't like the way I am now, and I'm not confident around women anymore. I've got values. So, you know, I wish there was something here in Kelowna.
Okay. Lori, did you have some?
I recently met someone. He's 59. He has cerebral palsy. He had a spinal cord injury. He got into a motorbike accident, and that put him in a chair. But he is able to transfer from his chair to his recliner. But he told me he cannot walk, which I understand. And I'm trying to get him to join a spinal cord PC and cerebral palsy PC, because I think that could open up a lot of doors for him.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing, Lori. George, do you have any certain particular questions or anything?
I'm just here to chat, I guess. For right now, I don't have any specific questions or anything.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, that's good. Rachel, Leslie, do you want to take it away a little bit, maybe? I can ask some specific questions, but I know Jeff, you know, had a good opener, I think, which is like, where do you even meet people?
Yeah. I think that it can be quite isolating for a lot of people in the community, even for those who don't have a disability and don't have barriers to accessing traditional venues to meet individuals. And so I acknowledge that it can certainly be hard, and, you know, online dating is not for everyone. I think that online dating for people with disabilities has a lot of things you need to be careful about as well, in terms of, you know, safety, and a lot of people have questions when they're online dating about how much to disclose and when to disclose it and all those things. So often what I will encourage people to do is to shift your mind frame a little bit into getting out there to meet friends and then see where that comes from, because oftentimes romantic relationships stem from friendships, and it's easier in a way to be in the mindset of you're going out to meet friends. So that's, you know, one kind of strategy that's not necessarily going to work for everybody, but for those who are a little bit apprehensive about where to start. And it kind of gives you an opportunity to practice, you know, talking to people, practice your social skills a little bit, get some conversation starters out there. And then for those who are a little worried about talking about their disability, it gives you an opportunity to just, you know, practice how you might disclose that to another individual. So those are some of the things that I will sometimes talk about with clients.
Yeah, Lori, I think, you know, what you said about this new person in your life that you're trying to connect him with spinal cord injury PC is a great first start. Jeff, I was wondering for you, have you connected with any groups within your community? You're from Kelowna, you said?
Sorry, I muted myself. I've tried that. I just find that being in a care home is a real problem. I've had a few people bolt on me that, I got to want to hang out and have fun and, nothing sexual yet, but, and then they see the care home, they just go, yeah, right. So I almost need like a hotel room or something. Yeah, it's kind of bad.
In your care home, do you have your own private room?
Yes, I do.
So, I mean, that's your private space. And I think, for some people, it might just take a little bit of time for them to kind of get used to the fact that you're in a facility that, you need to be there for specific reasons, right? But you do have your private area.
Yeah.
Do you find that your private time is respected by the people within the facility?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Because I know that can be a bit of a concern and a worry for some people, right? When you do bring a friend back to your place and, how much privacy are we actually going to have? Do I need to worry about, a nurse barging into my room, for instance, without knocking and, starting that conversation with your caregivers as well.
I came up and was really forward with them.
Yeah.
And said that if you ever need to talk to me, you need to knock.
Good.
Yeah.
It may be worthwhile, Jeff, to think about, like, I don't know what the exact situation was with these individuals who you said kind of got a bit scared and bolted, but, maybe disclosing it and talking about it a bit earlier so that they know what it's all about and why you're there, and that you do have your own private space, because maybe someone coming in, someone living in a facility, that you think, well, is there something else going on with him that I don't know about? Like,
right.
That might be scary.
Yeah.
So that might be another strategy to try, right? Because anytime you feel like you've been misled, it can kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand you weren't trying to do that, right? And it can be off-putting to potential dates, right? If you're telling them that you're in a facility, but your luck might be a bit better bringing it up beforehand and talking about it beforehand and saying, I understand that this is, not typical, but this is my situation. Yeah.
And kind of explain why you're in the facility.
Yeah, and say there's just certain parts of my day where I need a little bit of help, and for the majority of the time I'm independent, but there's certain things in the morning or evening or whenever it might be that I do need a hand with, and other than that I live an independent life, but I do have this is the kind of a best case scenario for my living situation right now. And yeah,
I've even changed my care to make it better for somebody coming.
Yeah.
That I only get care twice a day, and I'm independent for the rest of the day.
Is it more like a group home that you live in?
No, it's a seniors facility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They thought that was probably the best fit for me.
From what I can see.
Pardon?
It's a neat setup from what I can see.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a good, question is when you're disclosing information, like how much is too much? Like I sort of ran into issues when I was, first dating, and I was terrified about sex. So I would blurt out on date one, like, these are all the things that can happen with my body, and I just don't know, right? And I think it was very overwhelming for people. So, when is a good time to start talking about that, and how much information do you disclose? Like, is there an equation?
I wouldn't say that there actually is an equation. I think it's kind of testing the waters and, seeing, okay, leading by example, find out, okay, so your experiences maybe weren't great. Okay, maybe I'll hold off on next time giving as much information. I always encourage people, get to know each other before really moving into a sexual relationship, so you get to know bits and pieces about each other before that real intimacy starts, right? It's important, I think, to build that connection. And
I think what's behind a lot of it is a fear of rejection, right? Which we all have as
Mhm.
human beings a feeling of shame and a fear of rejection. And the reality is anyone who's dated anyone, he could be the hottest girl, the hottest guy, make $1 million a year, you're going to come up against rejection in dating because the majority of people are not a good match. It's difficult to find someone where you're both attracted to each other, you both connect. So it's, being in a place and being ready to date in the first place, right? Feeling happy and secure with yourself, knowing that, you're a good human being and knowing what your strengths are, and not feeling like you need to rely on someone else for validation, right?
See, for me, I'm not a happy person. I am happy to a point, but I'm nothing works below the waist, nothing. So that's a real hang up for me. And, I just don't, I don't love myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's looking to see, like, being honest and truthful to yourself. That's good. Like, I'm sorry to hear that things have been difficult for you, but what can you do to start to work on that? Whether it may be accessing some counseling, and I know that's not readily accessible for everyone. There can be financial barriers, but if there's somehow counseling available to you, sometimes there can be some self-help books out there these days that can have some really good information and advice and exercises to practice to build on confidence and self-esteem. And then finding things to do that make you feel good about yourself and doing those things more often. Like, is there some sort of an activity or some sort of strength that makes you feel confident and good about yourself?
If it's okay to share some of the things that I did for myself, because I really struggled with that as well, Jeff. And it took a while, and, it's not always perfect. I think we all have crappy days and where we don't feel super confident, right? I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. But some things that really helped me was kind of like a fake it till you make it attitude. So I, would like always made, before, because I got hurt when I was 24. And as I said, like, image was very important to me. So although I didn't feel super great inside about myself, I always made sure to like present myself in the best possible way, right? And so whenever I went out, I made sure I had like makeup on and my hair was done and I was dressed, nicely. That part was important, and it kind of like grew, and always, try to be positive and smiling and, presenting myself, even though maybe I didn't feel like that, but it kind of like helped over a number of years. And the other thing that really helped with me, especially after my divorce, because I was, a bit older and now a single mom, I was like, who the hell is going to date me now, right? I started taking myself out on dates. And it was one of the best things I did. And I probably should still do it because it really helped. So I would like pretend that I was like essentially going out on a date and dress myself up like how I would go on a date.
I love this, Terry.
Yeah, go to a restaurant, or even if it's just like for a drink in a lobby or something, whatever you enjoy to do, or what. So for me, that's what I love to do on a date, is I love to like go and eat food and have a glass of wine, right? So I would take myself out and be electronic free. So it's super uncomfortable, but it is not like, what would I do on a date? Well, I would ask questions about the person, right? So inside and internally, I would ask questions to myself, right? Like, so, what do you do? And, like kind of practice that a little bit, right? And just be with me and be comfortable, like being out in public. And it was kind of weird and uncomfortable at first. But once you start getting in the habit of doing it, it was kind of cool. And then you start kind of actually meeting people too, because especially if you're hanging out, just in a lobby, whatever, sometimes people talk to you, or you have a conversation with the people that work there, find out about them, that really helped me a lot.
And you're right, I think you touched on something really important there, Terry. It's pretty simple, but when you feel good, or when when you present yourself or get yourself looking good, it makes you feel so much better inside. And sometimes it's just little things. Something, it might be a new shirt. For instance, Jeff, I'm thinking about for you, for instance, right? A new shirt that you've really taken the time to purchase or pick out, and you feel good about yourself when you wear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that getting outside of your comfort zone was a big theme in what you were talking about, Terry. Like,
Yeah.
it's a really tough thing to do. And I think we all fall prey to, staying at home and watching Netflix because there's no risk in that.
Yeah.
But going out into a public setting and doing something that you maybe aren't comfortable doing is a really great way to meet people that you otherwise wouldn't meet, right? Like, if what you're doing now isn't working, like, that's the definition of insanity, is continuing to do something when you know the desired effect is not what you want, right? So it's changing your routine up a little bit, and maybe it doesn't have to be going somewhere fancy. It could just be going to a coffee shop in a different neighborhood, or going down to a dog park where lots of people hang out, and just sitting and enjoying your surroundings and having a latte or whatever, right? Putting yourself in different situations where there's people around, because you're not going to meet someone sitting at home in your room, whether that be a friend or someone more than a friend, right? And sometimes it's not about necessarily meeting someone that's going to turn into a long-lasting relationship. It's just having like a nice conversation with someone, and then maybe you say, have a good day. But that can be an important part of being a human, is connecting with other humans, right? And I think that's important for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else have anything to say? George, you have experience in this area.
I don't know. Since I got hurt, I've dated a few different ladies. Been married for 8 years. That obviously isn't working out. I think my wife's name is Kat, so I think Kat and I would be okay together, but throw in a caregiver and my disability in the mix, and it's been a struggle, to put it lightly, ever since we started. She kind of got the blunt end of the stick, I guess, when she actually moved over from the UK, and we moved in together. So she didn't really have any idea what, other than seeing what was going on in the background of my video screen, what my life entailed. Although we had talked about it, she didn't see it firsthand. I think with, when you're disabled, you have to bring more to the table than an able-bodied person, either in personality and humor, in willingness to compromise, that kind of thing. And you always have. I'm typically always happy, or I present that I'm happy, I guess, not necessarily that I am inside, but I'm always up for catching someone's eye and smiling at them, getting a smile back. And sometimes, some days, that's the best thing that happened in that day. So I guess, presenting yourself and being open to meeting people, like at the dog park, or at the superstore, or wherever, is I'm not saying like go out on the hunt because that's obvious, but you know, be open to striking up conversations with strangers and just I guess put yourself out there.
And George, so you met your partner, Kat, after your injury occurred? You met her online?
I met her on Facebook on this after I got hurt. On this stupid game on Facebook, they used to like you bought people's pictures and stuff. I can't even remember really how it worked, but
See, there's so many different places to meet people that I don't even know about that even exist. So that's interesting to know, though, right? Just like playing these games on Facebook, and then you meet someone across the world that you end up having a relationship with.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, we talked as friends online for a couple of years, you know, before we even decided that we wanted to be romantically involved. So
right.
that was I found that was a really good basis. Oh, well, yeah, because it's worked out so well, I guess. But it was then a lot of times it helped us with differences or whatever. We were friends first, before we were involved, you know, in a relationship.
Right. And lots of relationships, most marriages don't end in you being married. You know, and so it is easy. Of course, having all of the challenges with having a disability will make things much more difficult, but there's always many factors that come into play, right? And that was a conversation I was having with a client recently, and what you were saying is having a disability and going into relationship and being open-minded to not necessarily compromising, but what about this relationship might be different than what I want exactly, but can it work somehow? Like maybe we're not having the best mind-blowing sex, but can we have more of an emotional and friendship-based connection and still have intimacy, but maybe it's not exactly what I want, but is there still something good in that? And yeah.
I always was, you know, sexually a giver, you know, wanting to please, but even more so now, it's because I very, very rarely have an orgasm. To me, it's more about pleasing who I'm with, and you know, I can't explain it. It's like that's how I get my release.
Vicariously.
Yeah.
So I think that's something, sorry, go ahead, Leslie.
So we hear that quite often from a lot of people with spinal cord injuries is, you know, they still experience that sexual pleasure themselves in a different way from what they're used to. It's seeing the pleasure they're able to provide to a partner, then in itself gives that pleasure to you.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. I was gonna say, sorry. No, go ahead, Rachel.
I was just gonna ask George if there were things that worked in your relationship, or looking back, if there was advice that you would give to someone who has a disability being in a relationship, that they could take and put towards their life or their future relationship, because obviously there were things were working for you for a while, right? And there's got to be some good that went on in your relationship with this woman.
Be romantic, you know. Roses are great, you know. Just do it's in any relationship, I think it's the little things that make it work. Not the big things. It's all the little things that you can do. You know, I don't know, get her a cup of tea, or one thing I will say is, when you're looking for a partner, you have to look for someone who's open to change. Like, my wife's a Brit, so she's very, very structured, very, you know, A, B, C, D, E. You know, she has what we're going to eat planned out for the next 4 weeks, and you know, she goes and buys groceries off of that list, and life as a quad just doesn't fit into that schedule, because unexpected things happen medically, and you know, whatever, you know, like you've got to do bowel care unexpectedly, or you know, got to go to the hospital, or you know, any number of things. So you really do, my advice is, you really should look for someone who rolls with it, like it says on my arm. That's, you know, that's the kind of person, I think that would be the best kind of partner for someone with a disability.
That's really interesting advice. I think that could be a good piece of advice, right? Is realistically looking at what you may have qualities you might have looked for in a partner before your disability might not be the best qualities for you now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that my wife has taught me, and once again, this goes for any relationship, is when you're having an argument, hold hands.
Oh,
Or if we're having an argument, she'll come over and sit on my lap. And that, when she first mentioned it, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? We're arguing. But it really does take all of the, it takes a lot of the tension out of what you're saying, because you can't hold someone's hand and call them a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sit there and hold someone's hand and, you know, start shooting them down. It's much more personable. It's, you know, I mean, like, it's, in a weird way, it's almost an intimate argument.
I was just going to say, yes, it is a very intimate way to have an argument. I've never thought about anything like that before. And that was your wife that insisted
Yep.
on that. Wow. I think there's a
And
lesson to be learned.
Oh my God, yes. Like, it really, I mean, we're separating, but we're I mean, I think we'll always be friends. You know, like,
That's amazing.
she said, you know, like, I'll still want you to come over for supper. I said, well, can I bring my fuck buddy? No.
Maybe not a great first or second date. Leave it for the third date to go to the ex-wives for dinner.
Oh, that's good.
But that honestly, for a future partner of yours, that they would probably feel better about that relationship than if you were like bitterly divorced and never talked to them, because that just shows that there's like a level of humanity and caring there that would make you a good partner, right? Like,
Yeah.
able to maintain a friendship with someone after separating from them. That's a good sign.
Well, I mean, I love Kat. I mean, I think she's great. I just don't think she's great for someone with a disability.
Mhm.
And she says the same thing.
Mhm. That's nice. Lori, do you have any comments about dating, and how did you meet your partner?
First of all, this I find hysterical. What I mean is, I ran a Facebook group for dating with disabilities. I have 154 members. Nobody reaches out to meet someone, even though I've tried to get people to talk to other members. I joined Facebook Singles a couple months ago. That's where I met him. And I said to him, I'm not going to mention his name. I'm going to keep his privacy. But I said to him, I find this unbelievable. I ran a Facebook group for dating with disabilities, but yet I meet you on a Facebook singles group. Go figure.
You need to connect them somehow.
Yeah.
That's good. I think, George was kind of talking about, and we talked a little bit about it, this like feeling of like self-worth, right? And how that can sort of like, what do I have to offer? Or I have to offer more or be more of this, person that can set me apart from the other, the able-bodied community. I don't know, I still struggle a little bit with that, right? Like, I feel like I'm, a compromiser all the time. Like, I don't, I'm terrified of conflict because then they're just going to leave or something happens, I'm aging with a spinal cord injury, and my partner and I recently have had a discussion about, he's like, well, I think you're going to need, to get someone to come and help you. I don't feel like he does a whole ton of for me, but he does do enough. And obviously he's working full time and doing things. So it's putting a strain, he's shared his feelings with me, but it's really hard for me to like, then, like now I feel like you're just going to leave because I need more help, or like, how does that work? What does that look like? I don't know. How do you guys handle that?
I just want to say that from hearing from clients like a similar situation, and to look at it from another perspective, because I hear the partner's perspective of things sometimes, and from the partner's perspective, they are wanting to their partner to get help to because they actually really care about the relationship, and they think it will be the best thing for the relationship. So although like it, obviously I can see where you would be coming from having those feelings, Terry, or anyone. I think a lot of the time the partner's like, well, if you get help, you're gonna have more energy throughout the day, more time. I'm gonna have more energy throughout the day, and more time for us to connect, and for us to focus on our relationship and things that we enjoy.
Yes, but the emotional aspect, and when you have like a caregiver that helps you, your partner starts to feel like they're not needed so much, and that creates tension. I've been watching Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, stuff like that, and they talked about stuff like that. So I don't know how you would deal with that.
Yeah, I guess it really would depend on the dynamic of of that particular relationship. Some partners, they get a lot of meaning out of being like providing caregiving activities, and they enjoy that. It makes them feel closer actually to their partner. So it really depends on the couple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think
personally,
finding out. Oh, sorry, Lori, go on.
sorry. I'm not, I don't know this from personal experience. I just learned it from watching different shows that have brought up this topic.
Well, we're in the same page then,
Yeah.
because I don't know from personal
Yeah.
experience either, but we can learn a lot from talking to others and from hearing what others have to say about their experience, right? So
And I think, having that conversation with your partner as to what they are willing and what they're maybe not willing to take part in when it comes to any care. Because, Rachel's right. A lot of care can provide a lot of that emotion or intimate connection with a partner and can be really valuable. But then there's certain things that some partners are maybe just not willing to take part in, right? So it's a fine line, and it's finding that balance. But I think it starts with that communication.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't any of that hurt on either side.
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to make assumptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
About something so sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's, good advice. I definitely could do that. I think, again, we have to look like within ourselves. And I know, I've fought for the last 23 years to be as independent as I am, right? And so it's really I feel hurt that, he's saying that it's I can't, I'm unsuccessful at it or something, right?
Yeah.
Where you just struggle so hard to get to a certain point to be able to do something. And then it's how does this even look? How does that, is this person going to come into our home in the morning? And are you going to care that you're here? All these things, obviously, that we have to work out on our own, but it just brings up a whole set of new things. And, he doesn't know either, right? So,
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know if you guys have worked out or seen anything that has worked out and how you balance it or what that would look like. But yeah.
That is one of the big issues that Kat and I have, is having someone else in the house. Another woman doing my personal care and, showering me and, but more than that, just being there. There's always a third wheel. So is my wife the third wheel, or is my caregiver the third wheel? So it's a constant competition between. Well, it's like being married to two women. It's or being married to two men, or there's there's a constant competition going on in the background of who do you side with if you're having a discussion, or can you feel free to side against your partner and take your caregiver's side, or whatnot. It's a very, very complex issue.
You guys have any advice on that? Have you seen what, in your experience, what any clients work through, or?
To be honest, I haven't, that hasn't necessarily come up with any of my patients over.
I think a lot of patients that we see here at GF Strong haven't gotten to that part of their journey yet. They haven't gone home yet. Some of the outpatients we see, yes, but I definitely have heard that it, like you said, the definition of being a third wheel, it can sort of make intimacy difficult, right? Like just those little moments that you might take for granted on the day to day can now seem awkward when there's another person there, right? And so I can see, like, thinking of if my partner got a spinal cord injury and we had a caregiver coming into our home, you know, when we're getting ready for bed and I'm rolling over to cuddle with him or kiss him goodnight and there's someone there getting him all set up or whatever, like that you would think twice about those things because there's someone else there, right? So I can definitely see the challenges there, and you know, some people's personalities who are a bit more open-minded and flexible would probably adapt to that better than others, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely something, you know, I mean, even people that are in relationships, like at some point in time, it did get us to have a good conversation because we both have spinal cord injuries and we're both aging with a spinal cord injury. It's like there is going to be a time in our life where we are going to need help.
Mhm.
And, you know, we are going to have to, you know, like as George has experienced now, you've been pretty independent and then had, you know, some health issues and, you know, now you need this care, right? Like it happens to many of us and will most likely, you know, as we age. So, you know, and you've developed this relationship with a person, maybe it's better to talk about sooner than later, but that's sometimes the reality.
But I think, you know, it's also dependent on the relationship you have with your caregivers. You know, and being able to be kind of open and honest with them that, you know, you appreciate the care they're providing. However, you know, there needs to be that time for the two of you to be able to have that connection with each other and not have that person there. So, you know, it's maybe a bit of talking about timing to make things work so that the two of you do have a bit more time together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it can also make a big difference depending on, like, if you're going through an agency where you might have different caregivers coming into your home all the time and having to get to know a different caregiver, whether if you've hired someone yourself through was a Cecil program, I guess, although I know that that's not always easy to get set up. So there's that to consider as well. I think, you know, best case scenario would be to find someone that you like and that knows you and keep them around for as long as possible. So
Yeah, that's good. George, what do you have for services in Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, right?
New Brunswick.
New Brunswick, yeah.
So we have the disability support program, which will pay for care hours on what their assessment is, or you can go through an agency. I've always hired privately, and because I do want you know, a continuum or continuous care plan. I don't want to have to explain how to do things to a new person every week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just I don't have the energy or tolerance for that. You know, I want someone to come in and know what they're doing and be familiar with what I need and want, and you know, the way that I like things done, and not have to, you know, I don't want to have to babysit my caregiver, I guess is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's too much to ask either.
Jeff, I have a question for you. I know that you had mentioned you had talked to your, you know, people within your facility about rearranging time so that you had a bit more, you know, time to maybe socialize with friends. How did you manage that conversation?
You know, I kind of went out on a limb. And sometimes that's what you have to do in life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is just so helpful. George has helped me. Lori's helped me. You've helped me, you know. But sometimes you just have to go out on a limb. and say, hey, you know, I need this. Yeah. I have a hard time asking for what I want. So they have to kind of beat it out of me in a way, not in a nice way.
Or push you to your limits.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, I mean, it's good that you have, I guess, Jeff, like a consistent group of people that work there that you're working with. So
Yes and no.
okay, interesting.
Yeah, there are a lot of casuals,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to go over it again and again and again.
Right.
And I don't feel like a broken record, though. I feel like I'm a strong advocate for what I need. I've been told that today already. Yeah.
It's good.
Good
You need
for
to be
you.
a strong advocate.
And then I'm less tired now
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not living on my own, cooking dinner, cleaning. You know, it's all done.
Yeah. So
In fact, that's a great benefit for being in a relationship with someone with a disability. Like I have a cleaner, I need a chef, I probably need a cook to come in, probably that would be easier. But
Are there things that you're
Yeah.
doing throughout the week, Jeff? Like, are you independent enough to be going out on your own and
This is unusual that I'm home.
okay.
I see Terry's email. I'm like, okay, focus, clear your schedule.
Yeah. So
I'm very active.
what do you like to do in your community?
I do a lot of volunteer work,
Oh, cool.
and I do some things that Terry's mentioned. Like I do put on a nice shirt, iron it, and go to a pub or go to a brewery or a coffee shop. I'm not a big drinker, so I usually go to a coffee shop locally. But I don't. It's not very safe here at night.
Oh, yeah.
I've been mugged, so
Oh my God.
yeah.
That's not great.
no.
So I go to bed at about 7:15. About 7, 7:15, and then do a lot in the daytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have that flexibility? Say, you know, you had plans to go out in the evening with a friend to a movie, for instance, and you're not getting home till 10 o'clock at night?
Well, I have seasons tickets to the Rockets,
Oh,
which is the WHL team.
so yeah, you wouldn't be getting home till late.
Yeah.
So, and no problem as far as,
Never.
right.
You know, they ask me to do stuff like that because I meet friends there that are there,
Right.
and we kind of talk, and like it's a lot of fun. I spend time with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
We don't live in the same community,
Mhm.
and I need a relationship with my dad still.
Yeah.
Because I am single.
Lori, did you want to add something?
Yeah, George, right? I agree with what he said. Like, that's what I look for. Someone with a disability, because usually, people are able-bodied and they ask stupid questions. And it bugs me. Like, I don't mind teaching people about my disabilities, but it bugs me too. So when I came across T, I'll say T. When I came across T, I'm like, oh, thank you. So I want to know exactly what I'm going through, because he's going through the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah, it is helpful sometimes, definitely, to be able to share those experiences, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm so independent in some ways
Mm-hmm.
that I'm pig-headed,
Mm.
and that's a problem too.
Yeah. Compromise is very good in picking your battles, I should say. Picking your battles.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What do you guys all think then about Lori? I know we just heard from you, but Jeffrey and George, about would dating someone else with a disability, would there be a benefit to that? Would it be something you would consider, or do you feel that it would not work because it would just be too much to coordinate practically to have be in a relationship with someone else with a disability?
Well, I think emotionally it would be, it could be beneficial, but physically and sexually, I think it would be like Mission Impossible.
I dated a quad, and we had a great relationship recently, and she got it, whereas lay people don't get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it depends what you're looking for in that relationship. If you're looking for a strong sense of emotional and relational intimacy with someone, that could work, right? Because let's be real, like sex is important at some points in your life. And then for many others as they age, it does kind of fall by the wayside and it becomes not so important, right? So a lot of the times it's more about that emotional and companionship and that. But yeah, I definitely have heard of there being some big technical issues among clients with disabilities who also had a partner with a disability, right? And sometimes it is just like, well, we wouldn't be able to live together because there wouldn't be enough room for us both in the bedroom or whatever, right? Like there are those things to consider, right? But
You know, I'm in a relationship, obviously, with a person in a wheelchair, spinal cord injury.
yeah.
And I've dated other guys with disabilities as well, and able-bodied dudes. And my son's dad is able-bodied. The interesting thing that I like, I don't know, it's just I'm always connected to the like human. So you know, I like to think that people don't judge me because of my disability, so I'm going to not judge them because of their disability. But if I connect with them, then I connect with them, right? So, you know, I will be open to whatever. And there's always like, you know, to every relationship, advantages and disadvantages. I find obviously if I'm in a relationship with an able-bodied person, they tend to do a little bit more for me because it's easier. And then vice versa, like I tend to be a bit more independent. Obviously there's a level of understanding when it comes to like accidents and things like that other person with a disability that can relate to and be a bit more appreciating and be more empathy. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. And just the time. And so I don't know, they're both the same. It's about the person, I think. So Lori, were you going to say something?
Actually, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
How many guests can I invite to the Halloween costume party?
I don't know. You have to talk to Jenna about that. I don't have
Okay.
to do that.
I haven't heard about the Halloween costume party.
Yeah, it's on our wall there, on our door. Of course, you're invited.
Is it on Halloween?
No, it's on the Tuesday.
Okay.
Next Tuesday, I think.
You got your costume?
Nope, sure don't. I've never worn a costume. Costumes are like the worst. Oh my gosh. For a person when it's sitting down, it's like I just have no idea what to do. Some people are so creative. I'm just not creative in that way.
I know I've seen a few funny ones where people have like turned their chair into part of their costume, right? Like made it into whatever.
Well, what was Chelsea saying last week? I remember she put James, turned him into a toilet.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
I remember what she was planning on doing for him this year.
There you go. Like, it's a perfect example of like bringing a relationship. She probably made that toilet for him. In my relationship, I don't think my partner is going to make me a toilet. It would be very difficult for Quad to do all that cutting with a cardboard box.
Right.
I know I'm not very imaginative either or creative. I was at a Halloween party on the weekend, and my husband and I went out on the Friday night to get our costumes. Went to Value Village, came across Woody and Jesse. So that's what we went as.
Oh, that's good. And were they store-bought costumes?
They were, yes, they were store-bought costumes.
That's what I've done too.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's funny. Okay, should I ask? I'm gonna, because I know Leslie and Rachel, you guys have till 2:30.
Yeah.
So we've got about 15 minutes left. So you guys probably don't have to be here for the questions unless you're interested in hearing what people have to say. Would you be?
Yeah, I'd love to hear what people have to say.
Okay, good. Well, why don't I just like throw these questions out there, and it's like I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. So basically these are about your preferences and topic ideas for a peer support around sexual health. So we've teamed up with the sexual health rehab team, such as Leslie and Rachel are obviously a part of that. And we're trying to find better ways to offer peer support and information about sexual health after spinal cord injury or disability. So we've kind of put together a survey to gather some input about what your needs are and interests are around sexual health support. And then the other part 2 of that is we're also looking for anyone who's interested in offering this support. So if you are interested in offering it, I can connect you to Jocelyn. So yeah, there is that. But the first question is, what sexual health topics would you attend an event or discussion about and discuss with a peer? So I'll just throw it generally. I have like some ideas of what they could be.
No.
Right? Oh.
Sorry.
That's okay. That was your son. So what sort of topics would you like, would you attend an event? So like dating like this, or intimacy, maybe there's like a LGBTQ ones, self-image confidence, like any, Jeff? What sort of types of things would you be interested in attending? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I had to use the washroom.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. So the thing for me, if it's Zoom, that would be wonderful, because there is so little here in Kelowna. I guess for me, I'd like to see I nodded and I can't remember what you said.
Well, I can name some off.
The intimacy part.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
There's like pleasure, sensation, connection, intimacy, tools and strategies.
How about getting connected?
Getting connected.
That's one that's big for me.
Like, is that how you do that? Like getting connected to others? You know, and like what that looks like? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
There isn't a lot of support here in Kelowna.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, we're kind of on our own.
Yeah. And maybe that's part of it, is exploring sort of that image and stuff.
Image. That's what it was. It was image.
Yeah.
I don't have a good image of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this, you know, I'm overweight and, you know, and I'm going to change that. I'm also diabetic. So I'm injecting like 5 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been really hard on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. George, what do you think? What are some sort of topics that you would sort of be interested in?
Autonomic dysreflexia,
Mm.
relationships and sexuality around autonomic dysreflexia.
Oh, like the sexual function side of thing, like the physical side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I'm your typical guy. If it has to do with sex, I'm interested.
Perfect.
Sorry.
So, like whether it actually impacts me or it's personal to me, I'm interested in hearing people's stories or their accomplishments or their things, some maybe problems that they're trying to solve, and maybe helping them solve them in a a talk forum like this, or a peer mentor relationship kind of thing, and not just around sex, but or in relationships, but that's kind of who I am. Is I like solving problems. So and anything that involves problem solving, I'm interested in as well. So yes, I would be interested, Terry, in providing mentorship.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Thank you. I'll connect you with Jocelyn for
Okay.
that.
That might be a fun idea for a Zoom group or something, where it was kind of like what are those columns back in the day where you would write in about
Abby.
yeah, kind of like that, where you could write in about what your problem or what your scenario was, looking for advice, and then everyone could take a piece of advice from their life, and you could address all those issues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that idea too. I noticed that someone just phoned in.
Yeah, Terry, it's Linda McGowan, and I'm sorry I was late, but I was at a meeting, but I thought I would just listen in on the end.
Oh, sure. Hi, Linda. I'm just
Hi.
trying to we're actually like just finishing up, but I'm just kind of asking you guys some feedback, because we're looking at sort of having this as like an ongoing group with sexual health, a peer support group. So I'm just getting some feedback from everybody about, what they would like to see. So hopefully you can contribute to that. And we were just on sort of topics, so sexual health topics that maybe might be interested in, you'd be interested in. So Lori or Linda, if there's anything specific that you'd like to think about, that you'd like to hear about.
Terry, what's already been proposed?
So we talked about sort of like self-image, how to get started, where to start. George was talking about basically anything sex related. We sort of talked about like a Dear Abby type, bring your questions, and there'll be someone there to like help you out, navigate that, whatever it is.
I would suggest bladder issues.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Bladder, yeah. And AD, we also talked about AD as well, autonomic dysreflexia.
I feel like we could like tie in bladder, bowel, sexual function, so things like erection,
definitely.
ejaculation, vaginal lubrication, like into one, medications to support those things.
And autonomic
dysreflexia ties right into that. So yeah, that could be a really rich conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think also we could talk about the connection of caregiver and sexual relationships.
Mm-hmm. We were just talking about that in our group earlier, yeah.
I mean, I'm a community health nurse, and I've always advocated that you should keep the disability as far away from the relationship as possible. But every once in a while, you have to depend on your partner for some kinds of issues related to your disability.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, that's a big conversation.
Yeah, like how do you do that? You can't, I find I can't do it 100% of the time,
Right.
but I can do it most of the time, except when a caregiver doesn't show up. And then it becomes a big issue for an hour or two, you know, it's like, oh my God, let's just get this done with.
Yeah. What about you, Lori? Any ideas for topic?
First of all, if you heard that
Sorry.
discussion we had with Anthony, I'm sorry. I did try to turn off the mic.
Yeah, that's okay. You turned it off, so it was fine.
Good.
Yeah, thanks.
He was a little frustrated. I bought a Groupon for Dress Slice. We walked all the way up Broadway to the pizza, and they wouldn't accept the Groupon.
Oh no.
So you had to go back to go get the pizza. Now I had to give him some money
Oh no.
to cover it.
Oh.
I can't really think of anything. Positions, that's all I can think of.
No, that's great. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so the next question is, like, if it's a in-person group discussion, what kind of venue sort of would be welcoming for you? Like, do you think it should be something like private, or would you be comfortable like having it at a restaurant or a pub, wherever there's food and drink, coffee shop, making sure that there's people that have disabilities there as well? Like, would you be comfortable talking about it with a small group or a large group? Doesn't matter. So anything. Jeff, we'll start with you. What are your
Sorry,
thoughts?
I'm nodding.
I know, yeah.
Small group. Yeah, of people that are disabled, because they get it. People think that because you're in a wheelchair, they can catch it, you know, and that's sad.
Yeah. What about you, George? What sort of venue or
So Jeff, could you just say that again? That people think because you're in a wheelchair,
they can catch it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and also just related to that is people think you're in a wheelchair that you're not a real person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that you're not a sexual person.
Yes.
Yeah, that you don't have the same feelings that other people have.
We might even have more. Like for me, my shoulders are really sensitive.
Exactly.
Erogenous zones, yeah.
What can I ask? Would you guys be comfortable of people with different disabilities? Or would you prefer it to be only like people in a wheelchair?
Or similar.
Or would you be okay with, say, for instance, someone who had multiple sclerosis and sometimes could walk, sometimes used a walker?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with that, but I mean, I can't walk, but I do have MS, but I've had it for a huge long time.
Yeah.
And although I'm not spinal cord injured, I am paraplegic because of the MS.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's an issue for everybody with a disability.
Right.
Issue for everybody with or without a disability.
Yeah, or like cerebral palsy. Like, I know that everyone's going to have their own unique issues, but there are some unifying concepts among the disability community, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's some principles that apply to everyone.
Exactly, yeah.
So talking
Lynn-
about like venues though, like what
Mhm.
sort of types of venues would you be comfortable? Like would you be, you know, if it's a small group or large group, or if it's, you know, like a fun social, like at a restaurant, or more private, like what sort of type of venue would, if it's in person?
For me, that would totally depend on who I was talking with. I mean, I'll talk about anything to anybody, you know, just about anywhere besides in church. You know, it does. I'm quite open-minded. I'm not. So maybe I'm not a good person to, you know, to narrow down what medium or local we should use.
I guess the reason behind the question is it can often be difficult to get people out to things, right? So what would it be a draw? Would it be more of a draw to have it somewhere like, you know, in the back private room of a restaurant because it's not somewhere you normally get to go type of thing? You know, obviously would it be somewhere accessible?
I like the back of
think
a
in a
restaurant.
Mhm.
Sorry, Linda.
No, I was just going to say, I think in a restaurant where you're like in a white spot and there's all kinds of people around, I'm not sure that people would be as open in that kind of setting. But as you say, if there's a private room at the
Yeah.
back, or
Yeah.
then that's different.
My biggest problem is hearing the person. I've got a hearing problem,
Right.
and going to a bar just isn't a great place for me. Going to a restaurant like Moxie's, forget it.
Mhm.
But going to a private room, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I agree. A private room with a small group would get the biggest draw.
Okay.
And then, so here's like, how would you most likely connect with other people with sexual health questions? So I know, Jeff, you thought Zoom would probably be the best, you know, with maybe a small group or whatever, and a sexual health clinician. So a sexual health clinician would be there as well. Or maybe it's just like one-on-one.
It's just very hard here in Kelowna because
Yeah.
there isn't a huge community.
Mhm.
I'm not very connected with the spinal cord injury community here. There's some reasons.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, so would you be comfortable if there was a small group, because you know the community, but maybe you're not as comfortable opening up with them, or would you be okay? Like
I'd be
if there-
fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm sure it would be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, we're not, you know, coming out to New Brunswick anytime soon, but. But, and I know, George, you're pretty comfortable, but even, you know, would you participate as far as like Zoom goes? And, you know,
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lori, Linda, what about you guys? Like what sort of comfort level would you have? Would it be sort of more like one-on-one, small group, large group? Does it matter?
Really doesn't matter. Probably not one-on-one. I've been to see Shay. You know Shay Holinsky?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She's she's at the Blossom Center now, used to be at JF.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind telling people this, that when I met my partner, Doug, the first thing I did was phone Shay and say, help.
I think Shay's
I don't know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, no, I can't do this. I've been alone so long. I'm not doing this. This is not happening. But it did happen. I mean, we've been living together now about 9 years. But the first thing I did was phone Shay. I thought, I need help with this.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, you know, they're really, the therapists are really good about saying it's normal to ask for help and it's normal to be scared. And because I thought, I can't do this. I'm just, you know, I kept saying, no, I can't go out. I can't go out because I thought I'm not getting part of this. But in fact,
Yeah.
It
Exactly.
happened anyway. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think,
so I think having a therapist would be great.
Mhm.
And doesn't matter to me, small group, large group, just a bit of privacy, like a spot in the back of a restaurant, or even in somebody's home.
Mhm.
I guess the Blossom Center has some small rooms that are easy to get to in Vancouver.
Yeah. We talked about that. Lori,
I've got a room here,
you've got a room there.
private. Yeah.
And where
I
are you?
went.
Go ahead there, Lori.
I think what Linda suggested is best. The Blossom Center, or Busan
Mm-hmm.
Center, in a small group. I think that would be the best. Because for some people, this could be a very challenging subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, and then basically the last question would just be what times sort of work best for people. So afternoons, evenings, weekends, weekdays, does it matter?
My preference, it's Linda, my preference would be afternoon, evening, or weekends.
Okay.
I try and keep my mornings for getting stuff done and getting in the pool if I can, and
Mm-hmm.
getting some exercise, which I can't do in the evening. By then, I'm too tired to do anything.
Nice. Anybody else have a?
I
Obviously,
agree with
for
Linda.
time zone later in the day for me and earlier for you guys.
Right.
Which is
You're okay
when
with
you say later in the day, what time are you looking at?
I mean, like here it's 6:30 p.m.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm usually awake until 9 or 10. So whatever that works out to,
Mhm.
6. I think 10 p.m. would be 6 p.m. What time is it there now?
Yeah, it's 4 hours. You're 4 hours.
We're 4 hours right now, but we don't know what
Okay.
we're doing with daylight saving time till the U.S. decides. Yeah, but it's always 3 or 4 hours. So
Okay.
Yeah. And Jeff, you're the same as Linda.
I'm the same as Linda. She makes a lot of sense saying what she said.
Mhm.
I find mornings are the same for me. That's when I have the less nerve pain and stuff.
Mhm.
So that's when I get my crap done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lori, what about you? What sort of works best for you for getting together?
I would say, well, afternoons are better. Because depending on where you're going, you have to think about buses, and the SkyTrain, and the traffic, and the weather, and the location. So Sundays would be better because the transit's quieter.
Hmm.
Afternoons, there's less people on transit,
Mhm.
and
Lori, do you use HandyDart? Because for anybody using
yes,
HandyDart, you're better on a weekday. Better on a weekday.
Interesting.
well, not always. I've had some tussles with HandyDart, so not always.
Mhm.
Schedules conflict, which annoys me because here they get all this flip of money from the federal government in the provincial government, and sometimes I just can't understand why I have to work with their schedule. They should be working with my schedule.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think that's kind of like all the questions that I had. Did you guys have anything, Leslie, Rachel, to ask
No,
also?
I
But
don't think so. I think that gives like
kind of
some,
a general.
yeah, some good ideas for us to think about, and we'll keep you guys tuned on what's to come.
Sounds good.
And
Awesome.
the only other thing I wanted to say is, Jeff, this is for more for you, just because of where you are in Kelowna. Did you know that you're able to access us, that we can do phone consults if you want?
No,
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah, you don't need to meet with us face to face in order to have
Really?
your, more kind of personal questions addressed.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought I had to be in Vancouver
No.
to access.
So if
So what
you
do I
want
need to do?
You just need to get a referral from your doctor.
Okay,
Okay.
just
and
the outpatient GF
yeah.
one?
Yep.
Okay, we can go through that.
Yeah, our referral forms. I think you can access. Yeah, you can.
It's online.
Yeah.
I know how to get it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Leslie and Rachel. Yeah, because that's really important, I think, information for people to know in the remote areas, is that they still have access, that you guys can just do telephone conference.
And my doctor
actually,
would be 100% for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great. Yeah.
I'm sorry for you, George, that we can't provide those phone consults for you. Unfortunately, you're in a different province than us.
Yeah. We'll just have to keep doing Zoom
Yeah.
talks with them.
Or do those resources exist in New Brunswick?
Not that I'm aware
There's
of.
very limited resources across across our nation when it comes to sexual health. And I don't know, George, have you had much help accessing any sexual health resources? No.
No. You are your own resource here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you coming out and sharing your vulnerability and questions and being open. And it's been awesome. And I guess we'll see you next time.